Praise and glory be to God, the most gracious, most merciful, and peace and blessings be upon His noble prophets and messengers. Welcome back to the show, people. And I know you're all anxiously waiting to meet the first companion of this series. But before doing so, let's just quickly recap on the objectives of the show. We're here to meet the Prophet and his friends. We're here to listen to their amazing stories. And though the stories are 1400 years old, the things we can learn from them, the lessons we can draw are just timeless. And this is especially important today, at a time when we Muslims really need some guidance and inspiration. And who better to take as role models than the Prophet and his friends? Getting to know them will give us a chance to experience Islam as they lived it. And that will surely energize our level of faith and boost our self-esteem. But more importantly, it will allow us to meet those responsible for passing Islam down to us. People, I don't know if you're aware, but Islam didn't just conveniently show up at our doorsteps. It didn't just suddenly appear on a plate of gold. There are men and women who sacrificed big time, who went through so much for us, so that we today can comfortably say, I'm a Muslim. And it's about time we acquaint ourselves with these beloved people, to learn from them and love them as well. You ready, people? Here we go. In today's episode, we're going to discuss the story of a companion by the name of Dhul Jawshan al-Dababi. Who? Dhul Jawshan al-Dababi. I know it's a tough name to pronounce, but let's see what his story is about. To tell you the truth, Dhul Jawshan's story has elements that relate to all of us. You and I, brothers and sisters. So I want you to listen, and I want you to listen good. Dhul Jawshan met the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, after the Battle of Badr. And for those of you who don't know, the Battle of Badr was the first battle that was fought between the Muslims and their enemies in Mecca, aka the tribe of Quraysh. Now though the Muslims won, we can't really say it was a significant victory. It wasn't a major triumph. Why? Because Quraysh was still strong, man. The enemies of Islam were still much more powerful than the Muslims. The Muslims were still under much threat for many, many years to come. So though they won the battle, they just started fighting the war. Now at the time, Dhul Jawshan was not a Muslim. And shortly after the Battle of Badr, Dhul Jawshan and the Prophet of God had a little encounter. A little conversation, so to speak. Now the Prophet wanted to invite Dhul Jawshan to Islam. So what do you think he said to him? You want to become a Muslim? Nah, man, that's not what he said. That's not the Prophet's style. So what did he say? He said, Dhul Jawshan, would you like to be among the pioneers? What does that mean? What does the Prophet mean by the word pioneers? You see, humankind, they have this thing for being number one. They love being the best. I got a friend who bought a Mitsubishi Lancer about a year ago, and he loved it, man. He had the spoiler installed and all the upgrades done. It was his baby. I saw him about a month ago, and he was going crazy, people. Why? Because it was rare when he first bought it, but now you see it everywhere you go. Same thing with the sisters. Girls walk into a store and they're like, I don't want to buy this purse. I know hundreds of girls who own it. I want to be different. I want to be unique. I want to have my own style. And that's what the Prophet was doing with Dhul Jawshan. He was tickling his natural instinct to be different, to be among the first Muslims, to help establish this great religion. And so I take this meaning, this message that was communicated 1400 years ago, and I ask you, brothers and sisters, would you like to be among the pioneers? Pioneers of what? Do you want to be a pioneer and wake up early in the morning before the sun rises and pray Fajr when your whole neighborhood is asleep, your whole city is snoring? Do you want to be a pioneer and learn to read the Qur'an properly amongst millions of people who don't know? Right, we can all speak several languages and we're all well versed in the sciences, but how many of us can read God's final message properly? Do you want to be a pioneer in the midst of many unfortunate people who treat their mothers and fathers with such disrespect, such wickedness? Do you want to be a pioneer and treat them the way our Prophet requested us to treat them? Ask them every morning, Mom, Dad, are you happy with me? Do I have your blessings? People, all these things that I just mentioned, they're rare today. So that's exactly what the Prophet is telling Dhul Jawshan. And he's telling us as well. Do you want to be amongst the first? Or does it mean nothing to you? But these words didn't matter to Dhul Jawshan. Do you want to be among the pioneers? Dhul Jawshan said no. He said no. He said, but I'll wait. He tells the Prophet, if you are victorious, if you eventually defeat my people, I will follow you. But if my people are victorious over you, then I would have lost nothing by not following you. I'm sorry to say this, but the logic of Dhul Jawshan is unfortunately the same logic used by a lot of people today. What is this logic? Just go with the flow, man. If everybody becomes religious, I'll do the same. If everybody chooses otherwise, then so be it. I'll just go with the flow. Yo, where you guys heading? We're going to pray, man. Alright, count me in. Hold on, change of plans. There's a new nightclub opening on King Street, and we gotta head there right now if we want to guarantee entry. Wicked, count me in. Where's your character, man? Where's your personality? Don't be a blind follower. Have your own identity. So Dhul Jawshan just went with the flow. And days and years passed. Time went by until eventually Islam became victorious. The Prophet returned to Mecca after he was persecuted and kicked out long ago. Crowds of people began embracing Islam. It was spreading like wildfire all across Arabia. People began to pray. The women started wearing the hijab. It was a new beginning for these desert people. A new beginning for the world. And up until this point, Dhul Jawshan was still a non-Muslim. He had refused to be among the pioneers. And how many of us, brothers and sisters, also refuse to be among the pioneers? Years and years will pass, and many of us will remain unchanged, unwilling to draw nearer to our Creator. When the Prophet returned to Mecca and people were accepting Islam in the masses, among this vast crowd was none other than Dhul Jawshan of Dababi. So the Prophet, peace be upon him, saw him coming from a distance, and he smiled at Dhul Jawshan in a disappointed way. You guys know that disappointed smile? Now, Dhul Jawshan, now you come to Islam when you had a chance to be with us from the very beginning? So he came and stood in front of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and he said, I bear witness that there is no God except Allah, and I bear witness that you are His messenger. That's the end of today's story, brothers and sisters. But there's just one last sentence that the person who transmitted this hadith or this tradition narrates right at the very end. He says, so I saw Dhul Jawshan biting at his fingers because he had not been among the pioneers. I hope you guys got the message. It's not easy to be among the pioneers, brothers and sisters, but the Prophet, peace be upon him, says that worship during the period of widespread turmoil is like immigration towards me. So when there's chaos across the land, man, when everybody else is sinning like crazy, but you are worshiping God, it's as if you're moving towards the Prophet himself. Do you want to be among the pioneers? Do you want to flee towards the Prophet? So I'm going to leave you with that thought, and we'll see you next time with another beloved acquaintance.